What's going on, everybody? This video is going to be all about seller feedback. In this video, I'm going to discuss if or why seller feedback is important to your business. I'll discuss how it can affect your business in the future. And also, I'm going to give my opinion on whether or not it's wise to solicit feedback from your buyers. Coming up next. What's going on, everybody? It's Manny from Manny's Book Bag. I'm back with another video. This video is going to be all about seller feedback because, let's be honest, it's a topic that we discuss quite a bit. We go through the Facebook groups and we can get a wide variety of opinions on whether we should get as much feedback as we can, whether organic feedback is best, what to do when you're first starting off and you're looking for that first feedback. Well, I want to start off by saying that seller feedback is absolutely vital to any healthy Amazon business. It's a really great report card that buyers can use to determine who they want to spend their money with and who they can sort of trust. Now, feedback is critical for a couple of different reasons. The first and most obvious one is that your buyers can look at your feedback and look at different comments to see if they want to trust you with their money. Having a great feedback score is an inherent advantage because you will capture more sales from those buyers that really dig and look at the merchants that they're spending their money with. But considering how things go on Amazon, your feedback score is going to have a completely different incentive. Your feedback score is going to directly affect how often you receive the buy box. Now, recent consumer studies show buyers are taking less and less time over the last few years to make a purchasing decision. When they do look at a seller's feedback, they are typically looking at 5 comments or fewer. Only about 73% of all consumers report that they are affected by things like feedback score. So they are making decisions much faster. And this feeds right into the way that Amazon does business. With the increase of purchases from mobile devices and with Prime memberships, the Amazon consumer a lot of times is not doing any research whatsoever. So having the buy box is critical because so many people are doing the one-click method to buying. And that's really the biggest way that feedback will affect your business going into the future. More buy box opportunities means more sales. More sales means more organic feedbacks, and it becomes a cycle. What keeps it a cycle is the way that you run your business. The way that you run your business is going to make or break this entire pattern. From the very beginning of your Amazon journey, if you are sourcing great products, if you describe them correctly, if you ship them with care, and you provide excellent customer engagement when the time comes, you are conducting your business in a way where the feedback is going to come, and it's going to be positive generally. Also, because of your ability to engage your customer when you do not get a positive feedback, you will be in a better place to handle the situation right away. Handling those issues with great urgency really leaves an impression on buyers, and often you can subtly get their help in removing negative feedback. If you are a new seller to Amazon and you still have the just launched under your store name, these are the practices that are absolutely critical for you to adopt. The last thing that you want is to finally get your first feedback and have it not be a 4 or 5. This will really put you in a bad place as far as feedback percentage. Nobody likes to see a low feedback score, and it's going to impair your ability to finally get the buy box. Once you are getting some feedbacks, though, you should see a small uptick in sales as you do become buy box eligible. Now, on other platforms like eBay, I would honestly say that I can usually successfully get 50 to 75% of my buyers to leave a feedback. That's not the case at all on Amazon. Speaking strictly from my organic method, I can usually get about 2 or 3 buyers for every 100 sales. And I would say that's been pretty standard. So the question arises, If feedback is so critical, should I be contacting buyers and asking them to leave me feedback? This is going to be a very personal answer, and what I would tell you is be careful. Particularly if you are new, if you are going to begin reaching out to your buyers asking for feedback, you really want to make sure of a couple of things. First of all, your business has to absolutely be ready. You need to be extremely sure about your products, your methods, and your process. If you are still learning your way, a lot of times I find we make more mistakes in the beginning than we realize. Sometimes we don't realize this for months later, but we're doing some things that may have an effect on the buyer's experience. Over time, we get better and we learn. And sometimes that low percentage of conversion on feedback sometimes works in your favor when you're new. I would not solicit feedback from my buyers unless I was absolutely sure that I was getting it right all of the time. If you do solicit feedback from your buyers and there are holes in your process or there are things that you could be doing better, you could really be opening up a can of worms, and sometimes the feedback that you're going to get back may not be what you're actually expecting. The second thing that I would say is absolutely critical is that you look at feedback differently. Instead of looking at feedback as your way of life because it's going to impact your ability to make more sales in the future, you should look at feedback as your way of life because that is the voice of your buyer. And a lot of times they will leave you some real golden nuggets in there about things that you may be able to change about your process that could really be a big impact on the way your buyer perceives your business. Now, that doesn't always happen. It can be really frustrating sometimes when you get a 3 or even sometimes a 4, and the comment that's left gives no clue about why it was not a perfect experience. Sometimes they could say that everything was great and the package arrived early and they'll give you a 4. Sometimes they'll leave a 3 and they'll say that things were happy. Now, a 3, I would absolutely chase a 3 because a neutral is the same as a negative. If it's not a positive, it takes away from your overall percentage. I would either reach out to the buyer if there was an issue, or quite frankly, if it doesn't look like there is anything that was your fault, if it's an FBA issue, I would immediately move to feedback removal. The reason why I bring up the 3 is because in the case of a 4, you get a positive feedback. It positively affects your feedback score, yet it's not a perfect 5. Some of the raging debate is whether you would remove the 4 or not. Here's what I think. A 4 is a positive feedback. If you're going to take points off of the board, you should really have a great reason for it. Either there is something detrimental in the comment itself that truly impacted the buyer's experience and took that 5 down to a 4, or something is said that reflects negatively on your business. Generally speaking, a 4 is going to help your feedback score, but very slightly hurt your star rating. Now, when you ask me if star rating matters, I would say yes and no. If you have a star rating of a 4 or a 4.2, I would say you definitely need to focus on getting more 5s. But if your star rating is up at 4.8 and 4.9, I would tell you not to ever take a 4 off of the board. With the number of buyers that are doing one-click purchases on Amazon Prime members, I would honestly tell you not to worry about it because most of them are going to add the item to the cart or pay for it without ever even seeing your star rating. If you've got the buy box and they're going to purchase your item, it's not visible until they click through. So I would honestly say not to focus on star rating because, quite honestly, it doesn't have the same impact as your overall feedback percent. And then, of course, ultimately, when it comes to soliciting feedback from a buyer at all, here's my take as a buyer. When I first make the purchase from Amazon, I receive an email, which is an auto confirmation to let me know that the purchase has been made. Then typically I get a second email from Amazon letting me know that my item is shipped. Now, what a lot of sellers don't know is that after the item is delivered, Amazon gives it a simmering period of a couple of days, and then Amazon sends me a reminder already asking me if I could leave feedback. So that's already 3 emails. And I'm not the kind of buyer that likes to receive emails. So that's 1, 2, 3 emails, and that's just from Amazon. Now let's say that you have a service that sends emails out for you to try to procure feedback. By the time I've gotten those 3 communications by Amazon, I have either already left you feedback or I'm just a buyer that never leaves feedback. By the time you solicit feedback from me, either manually or through an outside service, I'm already beginning to feel spammed. If you are one of those sellers that has more than 1 email set to go out, by the time I get that 2nd email from your service, that's the 5th email that I have gotten on this purchase. At that point, I myself am probably going to get a little irritated. It could inspire negative feedback. It could inspire a comment of some kind through Amazon Marketplace. Whatever the case may be, I'm one of those buyers that you're completely wasting your money on with an outside service. I felt really badly for this seller because I really respect them, but I actually saw a comment recently in a Facebook group where a seller was getting feedback from buyers through an outside service, and one buyer in particular really showed them they're crazy. It was almost outwardly hostile. The buyer expressed feeling that the email was pushy for feedback, and I'm sure that a lot of it had to do with the fact that Amazon had already been in touch with them a couple of times. So just know that you always do run the risk of having the opposite effect that you think you're going to have by reaching out through feedback services. Another clear issue with soliciting feedback from all buyers is that you never know what's going to come back to you. You could be soliciting feedback that could negatively affect your account. Even if the feedback is removable, you would have to go through the process of getting it removed. And just keep in mind that a lot of sellers are reporting that Amazon lately has been a lot more hesitant to just remove feedback automatically. So it can be a process and it can be time consuming for you. My personal opinion is that we should never chase feedback. I feel that if we run a really good business, handle our products really well, pack them with care, tightly in boxes, and are incredibly communicative and responsive when a buyer does reach out to us, I feel like the feedback is going to come. And when it does, it's going to consistently be a 5 and occasionally 4s. I personally do not believe that it is necessary to employ an outside service for the purposes of generating feedback. Not only do I think that it could have a negative impact on that buyer's overall experience, but I also think that in today's day and age, $20 could really be spent on a monthly basis on something that really impacts your business in a different way. I just think that in my case, it could be better used. But that's just me. Here's the question of the day. Do you use a service to solicit feedback? If you do, what are your experiences? Has it paid off? And do you think it's money well spent? Put in the comments below what your experiences are. I would really love to hear about your experiences with these outside services. Don't be afraid to name names. If you're using Feedback Genius, for example, I've heard fantastic things from some really well-respected people in the business. If you are using an outside service, which one are you using, and is it worth the money? Another great question is, do these services offer you other services? Does your service notify you if you receive negative feedback? Does this feedback service help you get reviews if you're launching a new private label product? All of these questions, I'd love to hear your answers. That's all for today, folks. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see me make more of them, please remember to share, like, and subscribe to support the channel. If you have not liked this video yet, go ahead and smash that like button right now. And if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and tap on that book bag up there in the corner. And when you're in there, tap on the bell. That's going to set you up with notifications so that you know when new videos drop. Until next time, let's go make some money.